today is a celebration that, well, you think every day, all year long, mothers should be celebrated.
Well, duh.
But every year, on this Sunday, well, not this Sunday, but date-wise, whatever.
Okay. Sunday in May, we always celebrate Mother's Day. It's a day to shout out to your parents or to your mom, but it should be including every mom, every aunt, every foster mom, adopted mom, fur mom, anybody who takes on that role and does for their children or sometimes other people's children what, we all hope for. And so to celebrate this joyous day, we are talking to
Willow.
our co-host.
Willow.
Our new co-host, Willow Skylor, and she's coming to us from Canada. And as long as the children stay in there, we're going to talk about our moms on the silver screen and on the small screen, and the kind of the moms that molded our lives. I think the ones that we were like, why can't my mom be more like her?
And then there's some moms where some shows actually kind of hit the nail on the head a little too much.
Wow, that mom is like my mom.
Yeah.
So, hello, child. You're done with it? Why don't you go plug it in?
So before we hop into these fictional mothers, and let's do you have a mother story you'd like to share, or a real life?
Like my own mother or being a mother?
Either or.
Probably it's kind of always funny because my mom did what both parents would have done, like after my dad passed. So she just kind of was the everything, like she did everything. And I'm the mother of boys. So she was the mother of girls. I'm the mother of boys. And I think that dynamic is way different. So I guess it's not really a story, because like I could talk about my kids all day long and then the whole show would spiral out of control. So the real thing is that we forget that, there's lots of little quips about being a mom. It's like there's no hood like motherhood, and there's no, the days really are long, but the years are so short. Like you look at them and it's in a blink of an eye and they grow up, and you just can't imagine how you brought this perfect little human into the world and you spend the rest of your life hoping you don't screw them up. And, and then you look back and say, man, it really went by so fast. Like, I mean, our youngest is 5, and I'm like, how did...
And my oldest, I'm not a mother, but
he's my bonus child. I was a stepmom for years, 13 years. So now I think about that. He's graduating this year, and it's just amazing when you watch them grow into these people that you never could imagine, or you always hoped. Like you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. But yes, he's a senior this year, and we have a kindergartner.
Okay.
We messed up, I think.
So what about you, Willow? I mean, I know you're not a mother per se, but you're
a fur mommy.
I have cats. I'm the crazy cat lady. I call it. I kind of steal the Daenerys mother of dragons thing and call myself the mother of cats. But yeah, I have 7 cats that I've adopted.
Holy 7!
Funny story. I started off with 3. Originally two males. We adopted a female who showed up at my in-laws' place. And then we found out she was pregnant soon after we brought her home. As I was planning on selling some of the cats and trying to find homes for the kittens, my husband goes to me, "We're not getting rid of them." I'm like, okay. So
They're
yeah.
part of our family.
So yeah, now we have 7 cats, which we're like, we're trying very hard not to tell a whole lot of people that we have 7 cats, but but the problem is, like, if our city does do their looks and to see if, because legally we're allowed only 6, but you know what, they're not going to they're not going to do anything. They're not like they're not supposed to
It's
be
not like
checking
they're
for
gonna say, pick one, and that's the one we take with us.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting rid of them. Like, the problem is, like, yeah, we're supposed to license them all and register them, but it's really hard to do stuff like that when, you have a city that's, very petty. And I don't want to register all 7 cats to the same home just in case they do decide to, charge me or whatever. But I guess I could register one cat to my mom and then register the others to myself, but I don't know. It's really it's really weird here in Winnipeg with rules. But
Well, I appreciate, I mean, that you want to take care of all those animals. So, like, there's so
the
many.
shelters are full here, and they get more and more cats. And people, it's not hard to spay and neuter animals. It really isn't. And
It's quite a tragedy though, because my sister fosters dogs. So she's a dog mom. And I mean, we have a dog, and I think that we have one, and we will probably always only have one, and 2 max. After a while, it just gets to be too much chaos when you have your own children too. But it seems sad that if you're going to be the mom to a dog or to a cat, that you want to give to the best life possible. Like,
Let me see.
Yeah.
we wouldn't spay or neuter our children necessarily, but we would spay or neuter our pets because it gives them a better quality of life. They live longer, and so they get to be with us longer. I mean, if you really love them, then you would want that to happen.
Yeah.
He's under the table. He's laying on my feet. The dog, not the kids.
So I'm gonna bring up a famous TV mom.
Ow!
Oh, okay.
So let's see here. Let's start off with this one.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So this is one of the moms I always think of.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Mostly because it was my childhood. Like it was the one show that we all watched as a family because we really enjoyed the Cosby Show.
And for what it was at the time, the Cosby Show was amazing. Like, I loved that show. I remember always wanting to go home after school and watch it.
Yeah. The thing that always got me is the older I got, the more when I watched it as I got older, I was like, it was a big deal when it was on because they were an African-American family, but I said they did the exact same thing as we did. Like the same issues, the same, all of the same trials and tribulations that come through it. But I think she stands out because she was a mom and she took care of those kids, but she also worked. She was a professional and she was successful in her own right, separately from the man in the house.
Yeah.
And, politics aside of whatever is going on with Bill Cosby now and stuff, I'm not going to let that taint this great show. I don't
think it should. I think that, we always talk about retrospect being something that's so wonderful. But when we look at things and we say, well, it was like this, but then we learned about whatever happened. And I'm like, just take that tiny little chunk of history.
You can separate. You can definitely separate the two for sure. The art and and the politics of the artist.
Yeah. It would be like not appreciating any years that OJ Simpson played football. You know, like I mean, it's almost, that's worse actually, but you know, you got to separate certain things from the trauma of other situations. But she was a good, I mean, I know it's centered around the dad mostly. I mean, it really was about him, but she was always like that.
She was definitely the raw
mom.
Yeah.
She was the foundation. She was the one that kept things running smoothly. You know, she was the go-to mom, I really think. So
yeah,
we didn't give ourselves we don't give ourselves enough credit for the ways that sometimes we are a Claire Huxtable.
Yeah.
But she was one of my favorites.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Just was posting something on Facebook. But I think this is kind of like the poster child of a family and that everybody strives to have.
Yeah.
I mean, they dealt with a lot of, like, it was a comedy, but it dealt with a lot of real issues.
Well, I think when you grow up in a family that big and your youngest child is, you know, growing up when all of our older siblings are starting to move out of the house and have children of their own, I think that kind of like gave us a lot of different dynamics. It gave us that understanding of multi-generational families where you are all very close.
Yeah.
And I mean, oftentimes he had his parents over, you know, they were a big part of the show too. And so, you know, we think about our lives in the 80s when our families were very, they were all in one place usually, you know, like our parents didn't live far away from us and our grandparents were still alive. And it was very much that normal that we all kind of, I think, strive for when we were not normal. Because I know both of us, all of our family dynamics were not normal at that time. And I say normal because it was our normal, but I mean, like the average nuclear family, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
None of us.
And I think a lot of these shows from like the 70s and 80s have portrayed, you know, try to keep the tradition of, well, the traditional family, like the mother-father rules. But then as the 90s started to come in, we saw a lot more single moms, single dads come into play.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Especially, you know, when you talk about the 90s and that situation, and I had brought it up this morning, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
She had moved in with her aunts.
Well, her parents were killed. Well, actually, in the real version of the story, they were killed. In the Sabrina that Melissa Joan Hart played, they were magically accosted or something. I don't know. So she lived with her aunts, which they did all of the things that a mother would have done. So I guess, in a way, we honor our moms and our mom-like people, like
the guardians.
Yeah, the people who made sure that we were taken care of, did all the things a mom would do.
And here's a little tidbit about Sabrina the Teenage Witch that I found out not that long ago. Elvira, actually, or Cassandra Peterson, tried doing a show similar years before Sabrina the Teenage Witch came out, where they bring in her niece and try to teach her how to be a witch and all that. And for some reason, they filmed the pilot. The mother that played Mona and who's the boss played her mom. They actually have it on YouTube. So yeah, they did the pilot, and whoever chose not to use it decided against it. And years later, Sabrina the Teenage Witch with the same premise came out.
Interesting. You know, when we look it up on YouTube, we'll actually drop the link here on the page just for everyone to check out, because everyone loves Elvira. I would have watched that show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think anything that was different at that time, I think people would have grasped too, because we were looking for and we liked the traditional trope, but we also were looking for things that were a little bit more I don't know,
strange.
Different, exciting, strange. Because we were starting to move into that world where we were
well, look at how many times Addams Family has been redone. I mean, they had the live action TV. They did the live action movie. They did the cartoon for a little bit in the 90s. They even had another live action show as well in the 90s. And they tried very hard to bring it back, but it wasn't it. But for some reason, the original show was still more popular than all the remakes.
Yeah, and then
for good reason, I think.
They have the newest Addams Family, the CGI animated film that just came out recently, but we haven't seen it yet.
No.
Yeah.
So let's bring up the next mom here.
Marge.
Okay, for real. These are the moms that have children with men that I'm just like. And I know over the 30 years of the show, like, I get that over 30 years you've seen why she loved him or whatever, but
and that's just 30 years of the animated show. It started as a comic strip.
Homer's just dumb.
But I think it actually got worse once Family Guy showed up and all the antics that Peter Griffin would do. I think they were trying to one up each other. I don't know. I think the show was definitely better 90s and towards the 2000s. But
yeah.
What I like about Marge Simpson, and I'm not like the biggest Simpsons fan, I've seen a lot of the episodes, is that she was actually a very loving mother. Like, she was trying the best, even with having
an
Homer
idiot for a husband.
And Bart, who was, oh my God.
Well, yeah, a sociopath, I think. And the thing is clearly her life wasn't all that great, because if you've met her sisters, you know that.
Yeah.
She's probably the most normal out of the whole bunch. And the fact that she's as loving as she is.
Oh my God, her two sisters who talk like, hey, Marge.
That's because they smoke.
Even the mom, like, I think there was like definitely a weird thing where the mom actually loved her sisters more than her, and she was just like kind of the outcast of the family.
Yeah, because she was normal.
But yeah, no, Marge was definitely one of those moms that, once you actually saw an episode that was about her, it's like, oh, finally, you don't see that much where it's like it's centered around the guys more. And then
I'm just reading a comment here. I'm going to see if I can pull this up on the screen here.
No love for Homer.
No.
Oh my
He's
God.
an idiot.
But I had to bring this. I'm gonna bring up this older comment when we were talking about the Elvira pilot. This is what my friend Greg had to say. He said he would have loved the show too.
Yeah,
I think when we were kids, I think we just wanted to see things that were different than what we had, but we also wanted to see the traditional too, because we were like, man, something's got to give. Like, whatever bad stuff could happen to us when we were kids had to feel like it was not the norm. I think we all wanted to be like, okay, so we're not perfect, we get it, but we want to see somebody that either has it worse than us or escape to where it was better than us.
But
Exactly.
one more thing I want to add about The Simpsons as like humorous and like sometimes
Downright stupid.
yeah, they always the writers and creators of the show always threw in like real life problems, like they were hidden in there. And if you do a deep dive of each episode, you can see, those little messages that the creator and writers of the show were trying to put forth there.
Well, and I think like we don't want to typecast our kids, but we do end up typecasting our kids. Like we do, say, well, you're the bad one and you're the good one and you're the smart one and you're the this one. And, like I think we all do, like, but we remember our kids are super different. I mean, my sister and I, some things were similar about us, but, for the most part, we were quite different. And my boys all three of them are different. I think that we sometimes overanalyze the fact that, Bart was so bad. Well, why was Bart so bad? I think he was looking for attention.
Yeah, because a lot of it was on Maggie.
Or Lisa.
Yeah.
And I think Lisa had her own set of problems because she was expected to be a certain way. I think that we could probably really put in a lot of psychology with that.
All right, I'm going to bring up actually two women here because they're both from the same show. So we have this one, which Greg right now probably has a big smile on his face because he loved this show. I love this show. This is another show that a little different than the Cosby Show because there was a lot more humor.
It was a different time, than the Cosby Show, but it definitely. But if you think about like the matriarchs of all of these shows, they were kind of like the sounding board and the foundation for. And even though they weren't the ones that got the most screen time, they were the people that always had the final word, always had the, the solution to the problem, always had that. I guess what you expect your mother to be.
Yeah.
She could kick. I mean, the look on her face right there. I mean, like, how many times did we see that same face? And she'd look at him and say, it really is not that difficult. Like, why can't you just figure it out?
Yeah.
I always liked it in just about every episode because Urkel wasn't in every episode.
Mm-hmm.
But every time that they were on screen together and she was trying to kick Steve out, she would be like, Steve, go home.
Yeah.
But that was a look that she often gave to her own kids. Like,
she gave that.
Are you kidding me?
She gave that look to Carl a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because he was kind of an idiot sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like it's the look that and my mom, my foster mom, actually said this to me one day. She goes, "I'm not mad at you. I'm just very disappointed." And I'm just like, that's even worse. Like, you disappointed your mom when, and you don't ever want to get that look from her.
Well, and there were episodes where Carl's mom would be in there too. So then, she'd look at him, and Harriet would look at him, and there was like this shared understanding of what in the world, like why can't they seem to get it together?
Yeah.
But they were all,
And around this time, there was another show that was very similar to Family Matters, Dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yes.
That was like the Family Matters, just with dinosaurs as the characters.
It was good though because then it could be totally outlandish, and it didn't have to have any.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what I miss the most about 90s TV is that there was an important message. There was a theme. There was always something super important that
Yeah.
Just in
that
TV
they
in
had to
general,
say.
that's missing today.
Yeah, because now you have to really look for it. Like, and I'm the nerd that will look for it. Like, I'm super analytical and super overthinky, and that's just me. But there was that message in all of these family shows that, like, at the end, I know it's unrealistic to think that it could only take 30 minutes to solve a problem, but it kind of always hit home the fact that if you've got your family and you've got a support system, then you can do anything. You can make it happen.
Yeah.
You can resolve anything that happens. So I think that by having a lot of the shows where there was this episode that had this important message that needed to be spoken about, and there was oftentimes something at the end that said, if you know someone who blah 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 or whatever, but it was always solved because you had somebody to help.
You had your family to fall back on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I noticed about a show like this, or this show in particular, is that it always ended with like somebody hugging or saying something supportive.
There was a forgiveness. There was always something like, well, this happened and now, we've gotten through it and everything's going to be fine. It was a way to keep ourselves together. I think it was just the way, I don't know, it was 90s TV. It was just the way it was.
It was just definitely close. Like everybody had that close family feel to it, and something that even in my own life, like I miss deeply, because like I remember growing up with house parties. If family would come over and we'd throw a party for pretty much any reason.
Yeah.
And so that's, ever since my grandparents died, we haven't had that many house parties.
Yeah. And Greg, I know you're watching. It's not a kid and play house party, so you can
not that
although because I'm from a very big German family, there will be drinking.
We're a bunch of Polish people in my family, so if you weren't already drunk when you got to the party, you were going to be by the time you left.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And my uncle married a French woman, so
now you add smoking.
Hey,
nobody
was cooking meth.
No.
Let's take it back a little bit further here.
We go a little bit further.
Oh, she's one of my favorite ones.
This was my favorite part about like different families, because they were blended.
Yeah.
So they had to find a way to bring everybody into this house and all get along. And she never treated her kids better than any of the other kids. And everybody had a place and everybody had a purpose and everybody was there. It was just what was going to be.
Yeah. And, definitely there was no like favoritism, and even I remember a few episodes where they actually have dealt with that, where it's like, youngest felt like they favored the oldest kids more, but just, I don't know, just at the end, they brought together the family and said, nope, we're all in this together.
And, there was another show on that around the same time, the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
I still prefer the Brady Bunch. I don't know.
Well, and the Brady Bunch also had their issue of the week or the problem that got solved. And I think that was a common theme in a lot of TV shows, because we had families that were trying to find ways to solve problems.
Right.
And I think because there were 3 kids on both sides, I think they did perpetuate that whole middle child. And, I think it was worse for the girls than it was for the boys. But I think that they all kind of fell into like a role.
Yeah.
Like Cindy was the cute one, and you know, the youngest kids were the cute kids, and they could do whatever they wanted, and the middle kids had the most burden because, you know, Jan always felt like she was
Forgotten.
living in her sister's shadow.
Was it the episode? I think it was Jan.
Yes.
Was it Jan that got braces?
Yes.
Yes. So that episode, she was so scared and she didn't want to smile, and she was afraid that everyone was gonna laugh at her.
And everything was Marsha.
Marsha.
I think though that kind of, I don't know that it was necessarily a stereotype at the time. I do think birth order has something to do with a lot of things, but use the counter. Why do you have to be over here?
Because he has to be near you.
Yeah. Now, like, Florence Henderson is just beautiful.
Wait, how long do I put
She was, I think, she was a very talented actress, a mother herself. But when I think of the character of Carol Brady, I actually think of one of the TV movies that they did later when Bobby was a race car driver and was in the accident and ended up in a wheelchair. And the scene that she had with him, I think, like,
Bobby was the youngest, right?
right,
Yeah.
Bobby was like,
No, 2.
I think the scene, like when they were in the hospital and he found out that he was going to be in a wheelchair, that scene kind of broke my heart. Like, he broke down and like, I'm never going to walk again. And I think in that same movie, I think it was someone was getting married.
He's back.
And I think it was either him or one of his brothers was getting married, and he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to stand, or he didn't want to be in a wheelchair for the wedding. And I just think the scene, the interaction between her and Bobby was like that true mother-son.
Yeah.
Well, but how long were they on the air, and how many, you know, episodes and specials did they have after that? Like, they could have easily been family at that point. Like, I think that the misnomer for all of that is the people that, you know, when we celebrate Mother's Day, we say family. It's like sometimes we choose our family, and sometimes they're the people that show up and offer us the most support. And not that we replace anybody else. It's just that we add them in because they fill a hole, you know, for something that needs.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of figures in my life that, you know, people that helped to take care of me or cared about me or mentored me, and they don't take the place of my mom, but they definitely are mom-like.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
And I think that, you know, I think we all have to have that understanding of, you know, she probably did fill a void for everybody on that show because they were trusted in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what their family dynamics were like as children themselves, but they were probably on set more than they were in their own house. So, I mean, she probably did take on a lot of the characteristics of a mother.
Yeah.
I hate that view.
I know. And it always goes back to that view.
It's like, there's only half my face.
Okay, I had to like say this. She's taking a drink, and the first thing that came to mind, because we're watching The Voice, is the cup that Blake Shelton has and what's always in it.
What's always in it?
They're always joking that he's got beer or something.
I can assure you it's just water.
Mine's coffee with way, way too much creamer in it.
I'm sorry. You should show her what your coffee mug says.
So it says, I have the vocabulary of a well-educated sailor.
And I have to say, it's very true.
Yes, it is. So The fact that my children will often say, "What the frick?" and it doesn't always sound like frick.
Yeah.
It's me. It's my fault.
So you don't get mad at them when they swear? Or you just choose to ignore it? Because
well, now if they've really sworn, like
Yeah.
both of, well, okay, Brighton is way better about it than Oliver. Oliver will slip all the time. But Brighton's like, you can't say that. Stop saying that, Mom. That's not a nice word. He's
And
like, swear, please. And then every once in a while, like Oliver's new thing is, what the frick? And now it sounds like the other one. Like, what did you say? And he's like, I said, what the frick, Mom?
But if Oliver says the actual word or a bad word, he goes, I didn't say that.
Yeah, like, it wasn't me. But usually Brighton will be like, Mom, he swore. I'm like, you know, if you say it, I guess if you say it here is one thing, but please don't say it out in the real world. Like,
yeah,
you know,
let's get a little nerdy here.
Let's get a little nerdy. Isn't the whole point of doing this the fact that we're nerdy from the beginning?
Okay, so
just a little nerdy.
This character has been played by multiple people, but this is the Smallville version.
Yeah.
This is Martha Kent, and I am being summoned, so I'll let you guys take care of this.
He really was being summoned. He was like, Dad?
I have a confession. I didn't really watch Smallville. Around that time, I had just moved out of my foster home, trying to make a go of my own life. So watching TV really wasn't one of the things that I've
heard of it.
I was doing, oddly enough. So yeah, I think I was just trying to experience adult life for the first time during that whole phase.
I always say I was a deprived child, and we had 4 channels, so we didn't have the CW.
Oh, okay.
So I never got to watch Smallville until it was on DVD, and the only reason I ever watched it is because Brian was a huge fan. And, you know, he lived with his parents and had cable. I lived with my mom, and she was like, I'm not paying for cable. So
yeah,
it just, we just didn't watch. We just didn't watch stuff like that. It just wasn't, if you had to pay for the channel, you weren't going to get to watch it. But I think every incarnation of her is always very similar. There's that. And I think it's with what we want for adoptive moms, you know, like, to always treat the child like they're theirs, even if they didn't grow in their personal womb. Like, you know, like, you want to believe that that person would take them in and treat them just like their own.
Absolutely. And one of the things that have kind of irritated me while I was in foster care was, you know, being introduced as the foster child to new members of the family or new friends or whatever. Yeah. And it's like like my foster mom would introduce, you know, all her children and be like, oh, and this is, you know, my foster child. And I'm just like, just you know, just call me by name.
Yeah, and here's all the kids, and then you go down the list. It's like, and I don't know. I think maybe Shane could maybe say that more. I want to say that a lot of people just thought he was mine. And so when they would say something, I say, well, I didn't give birth to him. Like, so they were like, oh, you didn't? And I'm like, no, like, none of his genes are mine, but that doesn't mean that I don't take care of him. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, he's still your child, though.
He's mine. I mean, so, like, when people would ask, I'd be like, okay, well, because they'd say, well, I thought you didn't have any kids. And I'm like, I don't have any birth children. But he is my bonus child. Like, he is the extra kid that I got to love because I was lucky enough. Like, he was just part of, they were a package deal. Like, Brian and Shane were a package deal. It was It was easy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
And I was always like that. It was never like he wasn't going to get something more or less than any of the other kids. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I always felt. But
But
maybe
I
it's because he
mean,
was older
yeah.
too. Like he lived a good portion of time with us when we didn't have any other children, so it was just
Yeah.
easy to be like, that's your brother. And so when Shane came this summer and everybody was old enough to kind of wrap their brains around the fact that he has two moms. And so Oliver said, I want a stepmom. And I went, that's not how this works. Like, we had to explain it to them. And it's like, well, then why? Because Shane's not your kid, Mom. So how are we all related? I said, you're half brothers. Like, what does half mean? And so we had this whole conversation about it. And I said, because we never raised the kids to believe that they were half brothers. Like, you're brothers. Like, you're it. You're the people that have each other's back when we're gone. Like,
yeah.
So we weren't going to say, oh, you're half and you're step and you're this and you're that. It's like, no, we're family.
Yeah.
So
same scenario with my sisters. Like I'm the youngest of two, and we all have different dads. But for some reason, some people get hooked on like the label of stepsister and
half sisters.
I don't know.
If you're family, you're family. Like I think that's the hardest
exactly
thing for some other people to believe, because they're still living in that traditional world. It's like, well, I wasn't lucky enough to have a kid when I was in my 20s, and I didn't have a child that was my own, but I certainly took care of him like he was my own because, like, because I wanted to. Like, I wanted him to have those things. Like, who else would be able to do that on a full-time basis?
Exactly.
Because he still needed that. And his mom is a good mom. I mean, I'm not ever to say anything about that, but she did have some serious health issues and some serious things that caused a lot of trauma for everybody involved. And so by trying to help, I hope I didn't ever make it worse, but I mean, I hope I didn't make it worse. I hope I only made it better. But, by trying to help, I was like, I just want to make sure that this kid has what he needs and what he deserves, because kids deserve to be cared for.
Yeah. And I believe that any kid, even in like growing up in foster care, is really hard too. Like I can't imagine with the scenario of Superman coming in from another planet and trying to live as a human. I know the Kents would want to have tried to give Clark Kent a normal life, and that is what any foster child wants, is a chance to have a normal life.
On the page. I don't know if you saw this. I just have to read this. On the Reels and Heels post that we did when we announced you as our co-host, I guess you did see it, but how your mom said she was very proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that's...
Hi, Mom.
I think... But isn't that the greatest thing, when they can accept or be excited for something that is just something that you enjoy doing?
Yes.
Like, I often get the, well, why do you like that? And I'm like, I don't know, because I'm weird. Like, because I think I was adopted. Maybe I'm not your birth child. I don't know.
Yeah, she actually just posted this 48 minutes ago on the Reels and Heels page.
Yeah, that is my biological mother. She, I tried to during my time in foster care, I tried to spend as much time like talking on the phone with her as much as possible, trying to set up days where we go and see each other. It was definitely hard to be away from her and always wanting to, see her, but can't. But I try to stay as close as possible to her, and I even spent time afterwards trying to help her out. And trying to get her life straight.
But I think sometimes when a parent knows that they can't possibly do it justice, and they try to find or try to do the very best they can. Like,
Yeah.
I think we don't always give our moms enough credit that, like, they might have bowed out, but they didn't leave completely. They always tried to be there.
Yeah.
And sometimes probably staying with her would have been better on all accounts, but maybe not. Like, maybe the life we were dealt, strengthens us to be the best possible people later on.
There's nothing wrong with asking for help from another outside source.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that we as a culture are starting to embrace that a little bit more, but I think that when we were growing up, it wasn't okay for people to ask for help and to hope that somebody would reach out a hand, to help, because I think that it was the 80s and the 90s, like, women were in the workforce and women were not necessarily staying home, and when things would happen, they were expected to pick the pieces up and do what needed to be done, and some of them could not, by way of certain situations, but also money. And there were a lot of things that caused I think problems in the 80s for women, and we like, we all come from specific circumstances. Like, Brian has his own specific circumstances as far as his family, mine, yours.
Yeah.
Like, we all see it as they've done the best they possibly could, and you were lucky that somebody was willing to help, that you didn't end up
my
doing.
grandparents actually helped quite a bit during my childhood, because, like, me and my sisters, we lived with them for a couple years, and just, I remember my grandparents dropping us off almost every weekend to see my mom, and it was just a normal thing. Like, to me, like, growing up in foster care was just an extension of the already made family that I had, and my grandparents were great for that. Where it's like we had a huge family, and they'd always be over almost every weekend.
Yeah. And like, it's interesting how you guys are talking about that and stuff. And I mean, people familiar with the Superman story, we know what happens to Jonathan Kent. He always passed away, and leaving Martha being the only parent to help raise Clark.
But I think there was that warmth that she always had of bringing somebody in and holding on to them. Like, she wanted a child, and
she couldn't have
a child, but she was able to be a mother because of this, incredible circumstance that crash landed on their farm. Like, I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from her as a mother in any incarnation, not just the Smallville, universe, but also
the comic Lois
overall, is that she was definitely the person. Like, there are times when, there was a specific need that he got from Jonathan, but another thing that he got from Martha. And I think that was the role of parents that loved you as much as they did, and were able to see that there was a greatness. Like, you're not necessarily ours, but you're ours because, because you came at a time when we all needed something.
Yeah.
And I think, there's beauty in that, and that we don't necessarily talk about the families that aren't, 100% traditional.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted a child, they got a child in some crazy circumstance, and this child saved everything. Like, they made that happen because they were good people and they cared enough and loved enough.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
And the town that they grew up in, Smallville, it was a small town, so like everybody knew everybody. So like, you know, before
Yeah.
Clark was there, you know, the Kents, you know, were a very popular family,
childless couple.
you know, and then so they have this baby, and like the whole town of Smallville is like, you guys have a baby, and like,
Yeah.
we thought you couldn't have a baby. We're just, you know, and they just said that they adopted the baby, and
nobody thought the wiser about it. Nobody cared. Like, it was like, okay, he's your kid.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the kids that are in that situation, I think that that's what they really want, is that there's that acceptance that came from that. Is that, you know, you were saying that you didn't want to be introduced as the foster child.
I wanted to be part of the family. I wanted, like, I would have taken the name of any of the foster families that I was in. There was one time where, in my last foster home, my foster mom did ask if I wanted to be officially adopted, and I'm just like, you know what? At this point, it's pointless.
If it had been maybe years before.
Yeah. And I mean,
think so.
the amount of paperwork that you had to do and getting lawyers involved, and it was just, to me, it seemed like it was too much of a hassle. And especially, I think I was like 16 at the time, 16, 17. And I was like, I didn't know if I was going to stay in that home.
But if it had happened earlier, it probably would have been something that you would have entertained, to have that solid feeling of a family. I think that's the hardest. The hardest part is, like, my mom never wanted to have a man that would not treat us like we were his. And so she didn't have, you know, a lot of full-time relationships where they stayed together. And I mean, she had a few that were long-term, but they never lived with us. And they were, you know, they weren't ever going to be stepdads. They weren't ever going to be, they're just my mom's boyfriend. Yeah. And in a way, I think that was her way of making sure that we always felt special. But it would have been nice to have a dad.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it wasn't my real dad, you know, somebody who loved me enough to say, everything's gonna be okay, you know.
We all crave a father figure in our lives. And
sorry, that was kind of a downer there.
It's okay. But yeah, no, I think more so as an adult, like, I want my mom more than anything. Like, I feel like there should be always like a direct line to, you know, if you have an issue, it's like, oh, gotta call my mom, you know. Let's deal with this. But as you know, I had multiple moms in my life, and I hadn't actually kept in contact with any of them, which kind of sucks, actually. As an adult, you kind of wish that you would have stayed in contact with some of them.
No, I want to ask you that.
Did they not want to stay in contact with you, or did they just have so many things
tried.
going on?
My last foster mom, I tried to stay in contact. I'd call constantly, but it was just like I'd always either miss her, or she would get the other kids to tell them that she was busy or out. And it just got to the point where it's like, I'm always the one who calls, so she can call me if she ever wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, you know, with you growing up in the foster system, was there something that you took away from each family that you use today?
Absolutely. Like, with the last foster home I was in, I do miss I do. You know what? I grew up in a small town, like pretty much in every foster home I was in. My grandparents, we lived out in a little small town not far from Winnipeg, and then where everybody knew each other. Very, I guess it would have been the perfect Smallville. You know, even going to the restaurants as an adult, they like look at you and they're like, "Oh, you're the Sokol family." It's like, yeah. So they knew my grandparents. Everybody in the town knew my grandparents. Everybody knew my mom and her siblings. And then now, like as an adult, I've always craved the closeness, and I always make sure that when I have my family, my friends over, they feel like they belong here, and I feed them like crazy. Like the one thing that I loved about living in my last foster home was cooking for everyone. I lived in a huge family. We had 8 kids, and I just loved cooking. And so either I'd cook with my mom, or I would, you know, I would wake up. I would be the first one up to make sure that everybody got up for school, and I'd make all the kids their lunch. That was my thing, so that our mom could sleep in. So I took on somewhat of the mother role in my foster home. So that was me. That was my takeaway.
I think we take something away from everybody that who touches their lives, and you're just lucky enough to have additional people. Like, I kind of hope that that's what Shane takes from it, is that there was always somebody that loved him just as much as his mom, and we didn't have to be blood, you know. I hope he takes that away. I mean, I don't know. He's not much of a sentimental, you know, kid, but, you know, I hope that when push comes to shove that, you know, I get that nod at the end, because it was not always easy. Not because he made it difficult, but because a lot of other people made it difficult.
Like when he messages me on Facebook, we'll talk on Messenger or whatever, he always asks, "How's mom doing?"
Oh.
Like, he never, you know, says Nicole, or like he says, "How's mom doing?"
Aww.
And I wonder sometimes if that's because he has brothers, but at the end of it all, I think the way we talked about it was that, well, he knows you just are lucky enough to have all these people who care.
Well, I mean, he grew up with you, you know, being a teacher, and how you always would come home or complain or say this or whatever. So I think that's also why he asked, you know, how you're doing, because he wants to know, like,
if the children haven't eaten me yet.
Yeah, he knows that her job that she loves. It's like when she was young, she knew she wanted to be a teacher. It's like, that's 5. The only thing I want to be is a teacher.
That's 5.
So,
that's 5.
You know, it's a stressful job that she loves, and so he always wants to know how she's doing.
But I think, and this is also the thing, there's a certain people that are just good at that. Like, you know, I'm like, okay. So my sister is an amazingly loving person.
Yeah.
But dear God, I hope she never has children.
Oh, no.
You know, like I'm okay with her being a fur mom because she loves those dogs more than anything on the planet. They are her kids.
She's also a professional dog trainer, so that's her thing.
She's a professional dog trainer. Oh, wow. She's doing those things. Like it's very much that. And her dogs are her world, and that is good because they offer her something that a human child will never. Yeah. There's only 2 things I ever wanted to be, was a teacher and a mom. And I, you know, like everything else is kind of like by blessing or by curse, maybe, you know, like I guess I've been blessed with all of our Con family and all of the people that have gotten, that we've, you know, crossed paths with because of comic books and because of, you know, that sheer thing, like the fact that Brian can talk to somebody in the supermarket.
I think Dingo agrees. That's why he was barking.
And he wants to know what's going on out there. He's been really weirded out about the guys came with a bucket on the truck, and they were fixing the light.
Yeah,
They're fixing the lights on the poles out in the, because we live on our house is the end of the cul-de-sac, and it's pretty dark down here during the evening.
We have one light out there,
and there's two. So I think they're either putting up another light or they were fixing the light. So this dog spent the majority of the evening barking at the people in the truck. Like, they're not going to come murder us in our sleep. It's fine.
Oh, overprotective dog. That's what they're supposed to be.
Oh, he's worse now, though, because we haven't left the house for 100,000 days.
I'm going to bring up our next mom here.
Yeah. Let's talk about the moms on TV instead of talking about all this.
Yeah.
Way more depressing than necessary. Why isn't it loading?
I don't know.
It's slow.
Let's see. I'm going to close out of it, and then I will try to bring it up again. If not, I'll try to bring up another mom here for a minute. Let's see if she comes up. All right. Let's bring up this mom.
Oh.
You know what's weird about this show, though? Is that you never really saw her be a mom. I mean, like really probably 5% of the show she was being a mom.
She was being a mom to Ray.
To her own children. I guess in a way, yeah. She was kind of a mom to him, like, you know, filled in all the spaces where his mom was little. Because she was a little extra. Maybe that's why he needed the extra guidance. I see parallels. Do you see parallels?
Anyways. This is one of those other shows that ran for multiple seasons and was winning, award after award because of its clever writing.
When it was clever writing, but there were a lot of times when you'd be like, I swear I've said that very same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very real, but there was a lot of that family dynamic. And I think really what the show was really about was how I think a wife deals with a mother-in-law and her husband's family, because, you know, she had to deal with his brother, and she had to deal with his mother, and she had to deal with his father. And, you know, like, it was a show about Raymond in a way, but it was really a show about how they all dealt with each other. You know, like, how do they consider each other family, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you forgot she had kids.
One of my favorite episodes, actually, I just watched about a week ago, is the episode where Ray's mom is always nice to Ray's brother's girlfriend, but always mean to her. And so they talked about it, and they found out that Ray's mom believes that Robert's girlfriend was a virgin. And so she believes that she's a good girl. So she, and then Ray goes and lies and says that, no, my wife was a good girl when we first started dating too. And so that shifted the way that the mother-in-law treated Ray's wife. And then they find, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how great is Brad Garrett in that show?
Oh, you know, he is great. I would have loved to see him, if they were to bring back the Munsters, I would love to see him play Herman Munster.
I think he could do it well.
Yeah. I think some of the funniest scenes were actually between him and Ray's wife here. Deborah.
Yeah.
Just because some of the things that he would say.
Again, the voice of reason.
Yes.
You know, she was like, I don't think you want to do it that way. She really was the voice of reason. I think she really talked him down off a lot of ledges.
Yeah, she was.
He was kind of over the top. He was on the ledge a lot.
And I had to show this up on the screen.
Yes.
He really would. Like, he's got the stature, he's got like the cadence, he's got
the deep voice.
Yeah. And I just have to say, Willow, since you're new to the show here, that Greg is here all the time.
Okay.
Jerry's not in there either.
Yeah. And then we have another one, Terry, who is from Ireland, a big supporter of the show. I think he might be busy doing some things today, but both
probably spending it with his mother.
Well, but Greg and Terry, huge supporters of the show, and
yeah,
they're actually
they
both
hang out with us.
Very happy that you're joining us.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
The more the merrier.
So let's see here.
Let's all be geeks together. Again,
that view.
I only have one eye.
Let's see if she comes up now. There we go.
There it is. Another 90s.
Yes.
Okay, before we go to this particular show, I know it was before my time, but I always grew up watching the reruns. Three's Company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where I think I fell in love with Suzanne Summers.
I think I'm just glad that she was different than she was in Three's Company, because she was a divot. I always felt really bad because I'm like, why is the blonde girl always got to be the stupid one?
But you have to be really smart in order to portray a dumb character, though.
That dumb, because boy, was she dumb.
Yes. So earlier in the show, we talked about Family Matters, and this was paired with Family Matters on TGIF.
It was on right after Family Matters. When Full House went away. Because it was Full House, Family Matters, and then Step by Step, and then
Perfect Strangers, and Dinosaurs was also part of.
Yeah, but there were so many of them.
Like the whole week was just like sitcom.
It was great though. Like I think this was another show where it was nice to see a blended family, and it was also nice to see the addition of a nephew. You know, it was whether he got in trouble or not, because he got in some trouble too. But like it was a blended family, and it had a lot of the elements of the other shows that we were talking about. It's like the dad was kind of dumb, because Patrick Duffy's character was kind of dumb.
Yes, much different than his character in Dallas.
But you had all these different personalities, and it was nice to see girls that were strong and, you know, pretty, and boys that were dumb and jockey, but also, you know, really trying. And I think that, he was an idiot. I'm sorry. He was a dumb kid. But, you know, it kind of like played off a lot of the really cool stuff. So it was
hell.
It was funny. But
and I do have to say, was it the youngest boy of Step by Step originally was in the pilot, and I think maybe the second episode of Baywatch before he was recasted to Jeremy Jackson, because he didn't think Step by Step was going to get picked up, I think, and then they hired him for Step by Step, and he chose Step by Step over Baywatch. Little fun fact.
I knew that he was in both shows, but I didn't know there was a story. Kudos to you for always knowing the story. This is why I would always lose in trivia against you.
But I think this show had one of the coolest openings.
Yeah. I love the theme park.
The theme park, yeah.
And if you think about it, like if you really think about it, the theme park had its own set of thematic like introduction to the show. Because they're all, at this theme park, they're on a roller coaster, they're, essentially your life as a family when you're blending it together, trying to figure out how that's all going to work, is kind of like a roller coaster. Like it's kind of trying to get everybody to figure out, how to accept each.
Oh, technical difficulties, guys. All right, we're gonna reset and hopefully
other.
There we go.
Figures. We've been on where this is usually when we have the most trouble.
Are you back?
Yep.
There we go.
You're good.
I think you lost your mic though.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, but not as well as we could before.
All right. How about now? Does that sound good?
Technical problem.
Hello?
There we go. Okay.
There we go.
All right. But if we weren't going to be dinged by copyright, I would have played the opening of the show because
it's a great opening.
It's catchy theme song. If I'm not mistaken, it took place in Wisconsin, right? Is that where they were?
Yes.
Okay. You guys are freezing.
And then go ahead and come back in, okay?
Okay.
Let's see here.
What kind of crazy stuff is happening?
Well, anyways, she was a good mom, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, it's another show that had a blended family.
Mm-hmm. Everybody had to figure out how they were going to come across it, and even
they weren't married at first. It was just a boyfriend and girlfriend thing.
Yeah, and they figured, somebody's house was something about their house was there we go.
We're back.
I fixed it because that was weird.
You're back.
There we go. But if you think about the theme song, think about the words in the theme song.
Every day, step by step, right? It's
yeah.
One of
With step by step, day by day, a fresh start over in a different kind of way. Something, then stumble we fall. Something. I don't know. I know the song.
I have to pull this up. It's pretty funny.
I don't know. I think one of my favorite theme songs, though, for like family-based shows, would have to be "Oh buddy, oh bada, life goes on."
Oh yes. Now that song is gonna be stuck in my head.
Yep. I loved that show.
Hey, Terry.
Terry. Terry goes to the grocery store a lot
on Sunday.
But I think he helps his mom get groceries.
Okay.
Well, he was probably just being a good son, and
Terry is a good son,
taking care of his mom on this very strange Mother's Day.
So, is there a particular episode that you remember from Step by Step that like sticks out?
Unfortunately, I've watched way too much television. I can't remember too many episodes of Step by Step. Unfortunately, I remember the show. I remember, but yeah, I think it was I think it followed along the same lines as a lot of the other TV shows, so it may have just kind of got pushed to the back of my memory.
Well, I remember the one episode that they both wanted to have that alone time, and like something always kept up coming up and ruining it for them until the end of the episode. Because that was a hilarious
That would be the thing you remember.
Well, that's because I watched it recently on Hulu.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Nice save. I don't believe it.
Okay.
Can you fill this up, please?
Yes, I can. So let's see. Let's bring up another.
So we need a new mom. Another mom.
We need a new mom.
So I have a feed going on my Facebook page for live. I want to say hi to all the people in the live chat. Hawk. I got Sean, my mom, CJ, Katrina.
We don't have any. We're not paying attention. Everybody. The one kid has Brian's phone. The other kid has my phone. We're just relegated to the computer.
When the youngest boy lost the Ninja Turtle tape and the family went off on him and he ran away and the mother found him and he had a great talk with him.
I guess. Good try. I don't remember that one.
I was just reading that.
I don't remember.
I wish I could remember that. I feel bad.
I do. I can't remember any of them. I guess there are fewer things that stick in my head than I want to say.
Yeah.
Want to say I have a better memory than I do, but I don't, I guess.
Brighton says, I have a memory of a goldfish.
And he does.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what'd you say? He's like, I don't remember.
Look, bubbles.
You can tell it's purple.
It is purple.
Yay. Quarantine hair.
All right, let's bring up.
All right, well, you're going to talk about this one because I didn't watch the show.
Okay. Well, because you didn't have the WB.
I didn't have cable.
Okay. So, Catherine Hicks, most known for this show, but she was also the mom in the original Child's Play.
Yep.
Married to David Hasselhoff in the 80s when he was on Knight Rider. She was on an episode and they sang together.
Again, losing trivia to you.
Losing trivia. All right.
Forever.
But this particular show, Annie Camden.
I know the show. I just never watched the show because I didn't have cable.
Seventh Heaven. She was married to a pastor.
They were all foster kids, right?
No, they were.
Oh, they were all their kids.
Yeah,
okay. That's what it said. Because
it had Justin Timberlake's wife played Mary Camden. She was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Yeah, Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel, and who played the oldest son?
Barry.
Barry was his.
I don't know why Barry is in my head. I don't know why. He played one of the sons in the Brady Bunch remake, didn't he?
Oh man, his name slips my mind. He was in that movie with Michael Rosenbaum where they dressed
Sorority Boys.
Yeah.
Don't remember his name. See his face. Can't remember his name.
Gallagher and Barry Watson.
Barry Watson.
Barry Watson, yeah.
I said Barry. Listen to me. It's like Barry. Why is Barry?
And then like the youngest daughter, her name was Ruthie.
Lucy.
Oh, Lucy, and then there was Ruth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Don't know. Don't know. Yeah, you only put up there because it's giving.
Oh my god! But this was a.
You know, Greg, I'm the one that has to live with him after this.
But this was a more serious show. Like I said, there was a pastor's family. They dealt with a lot of real, like, stuff that you would see in family life.
I don't know why you're talking. I didn't watch the show.
I'm just explaining to you. They did a lot of,
because this is when the shows became like 2000. It was like after the year 2000. It was like
more
like,
serious.
everything is serious, and now we have to deal with real life stuff, and the children have to know that these things are happening.
So the family became more serious.
Around this time, there was also Party of Five.
Yeah, actually, yeah, because I believe Seventh Heaven ran.
I watched Party of Five.
I think Seventh Heaven actually started in the later 90s because it ran for quite a few seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, Party of Five.
Dawson's Creek, Party of Five, Seventh Heaven. That was all stuff that my foster sisters would watch, and
I'll let the dog in.
I'd watch just because it was something to watch. We all had our own little TV schedule, and sometimes I would end up having the TV at night, and I would catch up on my cartoons.
Yeah, I don't know what I was watching Party of Five. Clearly, I was not watching Seventh Heaven.
But on Seventh Heaven, she was the mom, like the mom that not just the girls, but the boys could run to and talk about problems.
Yeah,
I think that's because she was probably she was a very open mom, and she was home a lot more than he was. Like, I remember her being the more in like clips and stuff. She was the character that was there more.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite shows.
Oh my God, Home Improvement. I love that show.
So, and I think maybe now I care. I like her more now because she was a mother of boys. Now I kind of understand. And the fact that she had to take care of Tim.
Yeah.
Only he could, fix cars and dealt with tools, and no tools, no cars, but there's just other things that I'm just like, what? So she managed to hold together a house full of boys.
But Tim had Al for help. Okay.
Thank God.
And also,
because I'm your Jill and your Al, and that's just not fair.
And I don't have one of those like people I can just go to the fence and
Yeah, Wilson.
I don't
the voice of reason. But yeah, she was kind of like the introduction of kind of a real mom, because she was working, and she oftentimes would look at them like, hey, why? What kind of nonsense? But I know the show is centered mostly around Tim, but
and his show,
but it really did talk about how moms hold things together, and I think she was a quintessential part of that.
There were situations with the kids,
and she was really a mom. Like, it's just that they did deal with family stuff, but when she was there, she was very present, and
yeah.
I liked it.
Yes.
It's a good show.
Jill, she also had a lot of her humorous moments.
She was funny. Oh my gosh. She's still funny to this day.
Yeah.
I'm making the choices now.
Patricia Heaton is her name, right?
Is her name Patricia? I don't remember. Okay, so this one is, I think, one that we all kind of, after the quarantine, I think this one is one that we're all kind of.
Oh my God, Kitty Foreman.
This is one that we're all kind of, like, living the life of, because I think, like, we're all day drinking. And we're trying not to be too upset by things. But I think that she was a lot stronger than I think anybody really realized.
Yeah.
She was just
She was a mother to every one of those kids, though. Like, it wasn't.
And she knew about all of them. Like,
Yeah.
she knew. I think she was the only one that knew Fez's name. In one of the episodes, I think she really was the only one that knew Fez's name, actual name. He did actually have a name. Nobody knows it, but I think.
You mean his name wasn't the? Oh, Fez is actually like an acronym.
Yeah, because it stands for foreign exchange student.
That's it.
And he never went home. That was the thing. Like he never went back to whatever undescript country he came from. He stayed.
I don't remember who he lived with.
I don't either. Maybe he didn't live with anybody.
Like, this show all around had a solid cast that introduced us to people like Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Topher
Grace. Mila
Kunis.
Yeah.
Kunis. And then I never get her name right, but I can see her face. She's in Orange is the New Black.
The girl who played Donna.
Laura Prepon.
Yes.
So like I think that this show kind of catapulted them all into the public eye, and they had all of them, I think, had some sort of decent fame as adults after the show, which is pretty ironic.
Yeah. With Ashton probably being that guy's an entrepreneur. I mean,
I think it's just funny how it kind of said things about the 70s, like you know, because it happened before we were born. That's like mostly, but like a lot of what happened in the 70s explains why our parents were the way they were in the 80s. Because I'm like, oh. They were doing.
And they tried to do that 80s show, and that just didn't take off like that 70s show.
No. You know why? Because we had an 80s show. It was called Roseanne.
Oh.
And so the family of the 80s and the very early 90s were the Connors.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional and ridiculous as they were. Like that was kind of like it wouldn't have been it just wouldn't have told a story, I don't think.
Yeah. But this show in particular ran for multiple seasons.
This was like a what?
I think if they were to have started it at like 71 instead of like when did it start, 75 or something, I think it would have gone a lot longer.
Yeah. But it really, I think, kind of I think it gave everybody the kind of look at the 70s that we all kind of wanted, because I think our parents, having grown up and graduated from high school in the 70s, and they were having their families and stuff in the 70s. Like my mom got married in 75, so it's like, oh, yeah, okay.
And like the set pieces of the show, because the show mostly took place in the garage, the living room, and the kitchen,
and the basement.
Yeah, the basement was the main.
Kids all hung out in the basement.
The basement, yeah.
Where they all got high and they all sat around and they all acted crazy.
So like the kudos to the set makers, because like it really did bring it to
shag carpet and all.
It dealt with it. It also had like revolutionized the multicam function for television as well. Like having multiple conversations at once as well was a new thing that they brought in, which was awesome. Being able to see the conversation from like Eric's point of view and then Donna's point of view of when they're having their buddy talks.
Yeah. It also changed the way, like when they're all sitting in the circle and the camera would pan around to them. And I think that was kind of a new, it it was very niche to the show, but it was.
They experimented a lot with camera angles in that show, which was really cool.
And lighting, because it was you had to be, I don't know, the characters on the show had to be almost more dynamic because the backdrop was so bland. It wasn't like the wild 70s that everybody pictures. It was more like the 70s where you know, oh God.
We're glitching again.
Raymond's mother.
Ah, there it is. It's bringing up multiple.
Yeah, but the other one doesn't show up now. Anyways, we don't need to go back. It's fine.
Okay.
But we were talking about her, and she was in the lineup too. Go down to the one that you were gonna. We've got two before we talk about any of the movie parents. Okay, so this one I think lives in infamy.
Oh my God.
So before she was the mom on 8 Simple Rules.
Yeah. And before she was in
Sons of Anarchy. The mom on Sons of Anarchy.
She actually played Hyde's mom in that 70s show.
Yep. Well, that makes a lot of sense too. Hyde's mom.
Yes.
Penny's mom in Big Bang.
That makes a lot of sense too.
She was a lot of people's moms.
Yeah. Which is weird because she wasn't all that old.
No.
Really. No. But yeah, I think she was like that. I don't know, she was the quintessential ditzy housewife, I guess.
Yes, but
like,
on that show, she made the most
dysfunctional.
sense.
She didn't make the most sense. Really dysfunctional. I think that we did.
It was the ultimate dysfunction. It's they dealt with a lot of like alcohol and drugs.
It's the darker side of sitcoms, really. It's like it made fun of a lot of the stuff that was happening. Like you have two people that got married and they don't really like each other very much, and you know, you had lots of really strange, I don't know, is still not a favorite show of mine, but she's iconic, I think, because she was just she's over the top. Like over the top.
Yeah. And I love the both her and her husband kind of had a love-hate relationship with their next door neighbor, Marcy.
Yeah, and all the women that she loved.
Yeah.
And then decided to be gay.
And when you talk about opening theme songs, I mean, Frank Sinatra, Love and Marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you see the fountain, like, and then that.
Yep.
Now that song is in my head. Thank you very much. Okay, do the other one. That one. Okay, so again, because I didn't have cable as a mistreated youth in America, and I didn't have cable. I didn't get to watch the Gilmore Girls when it was on, so I watched it later on.
Yes, I had the whole series.
He had the whole series on DVD, so I watched the whole series and just fell in love with it. But if you think about it, she was 16 when she had her daughter. She is a product of a wealthy family, but she was 16 when she got pregnant and had her daughter, and she really tried to make her way in the world herself.
Yeah.
And her parents were well-meaning, you know.
She refused the money.
But she often refused the money from them. And, you know, she was a savvy mom dealing with a very smart daughter. And I think that dynamic probably set up to a lot of the humor, but the writing was so good on the show. And
the writing was so good that they actually made a book. and about the Gilmore Girl isms.
Yeah, like they have a whole, but like I think probably in the world of fandoms and things where the references will always be the references will live longer than the DVD of the show, I think, probably because it's like,
well, it's definitely a show where you wish you had that relationship with your mom.
even when she was completely insane, like, when you were the voice of reason, like, because a lot of times Rory was the voice of reason. She was the adult in the situation, because her mom was kind of over the top, but it was because she was always compensating for the life that she had. And you go from having the relationship she has with her own mother to the relationship she has with her daughter.
Yeah.
Because Lorelai, she was daddy's girl, so like she was, and I bring that up because in real life, the actor that played her dad had passed away, and at the time the writers didn't know what they were going to do. So to class it up, they did kill the character off in the show, and the scene, because everybody knows how the relationship between Lorelai and her mom was. And I remember this episode made you cry, like ugly cried. Her mom was there in the
not new for me, really. It's not any dynamic.
Her mom
like
was
that.
in her husband's study.
Yeah.
And Lorelai had walked in there, and that conversation that they had with each other
was like that come to Jesus meeting where you get it all out there.
Yeah, they buried everything.
And like you have to say what you have to say. Like when your dad protects you for so long, and when he's not there anymore, you have to bite the bullet and come to grips with the fact that that's what you've got. And I think that, speaking from the experience of having a dad who I was a daddy's girl, and when he was gone, it was really hard. And I think I'm lucky I have the mom I have. I would never ever say anything against that. I'm but I think like there's always that little thing where you don't feel like your mother understands you, and that you're always trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And I think she was always trying to figure things out with her mom, and even when she didn't want to figure things out, and she was always overcompensating, and and Rory didn't have to do that because they were friends. Like, I think that was the first mom on TV that you saw that was actually a friend to her child and didn't really live in the world of being a mom. Like they grew up together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And when I was talking to you about the show, when we were looking at like the ages of the actors and stuff, her daughter, Rory, her best friend, what was her name on the show? The name's, anyways, the actress who is supposed to be the same age as Rory in real life is actually closer to
the same age as Lorelai. It was so funny.
Yeah.
But she's Asian, so Asian women do not age.
Yes.
I mean, she's on Prodigal Son as the coroner, and she still looks 20-something. And I know she's not, but she still looks 20-something. Be blessed with that.
And that show introduced Melissa McCarthy.
Yes.
As a Suki.
Yes.
And they all had this, like, the dynamic writing that was on that show.
It also introduced us to a young Jared Padalecki.
Yep. His name was Dean.
Dean.
And our residents.
To tell you, that's gonna blow your mind.
What was his name?
Aren't knives just chopsticks? And chopsticks don't even work. They don't chop.
It's like when we drive on a parkway and park in a driveway. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to Quarantine Day 992.
Yes, but it also introduced us to on the show he played Logan. Matthew.
No,
it's Matthew.
Matthew
It's a European last name.
Hello, lots of letters that shouldn't go together. Side by side, anyways. Beautiful blonde. He's a beautiful blonde.
Yes, for you, I guess.
I adore him still. The Resident is among my favorite shows now, even though it's certainly not a family show at all. But yes, she was my favorite TV mom, I think, after I was able to watch it.
Yes.
My deprived life without cable.
Lauren Graham. And she was also in the Parenthood TV series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's in Parenthood, and she is currently on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Yes.
Which the mom
watching an episode of that. That is actually really good.
I love that show. That's my favorite show.
Along with the 20 other favorite shows.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just more fun to retreat into the craziness of television than it is to live your own life.
Television is one of my favorite.
And so in our travels in time, I think she was probably another one of the realest moms on there that does real life stuff. And this was the later 2000s, right?
Reba, I want to say it was 5 or 6, 7 seasons, maybe it went.
But 2000.
Yeah, it was in the 2000s.
And it's still in syndication, so you can still watch it on TV, as a matter of fact. But I think she was pretty no nonsense, and I think she was true to her own character. Like, she's very much herself in the show. But she was again a wife and mother to an extraordinarily stupid ex-husband, and she had to deal with a lot of the things that I think a lot of mothers today might not want to deal with. Was that her daughter got pregnant early and young, and then he ended up moving in with them, and it was just an interesting way that they portrayed real life things in that show.
Yeah.
And it was a little edgier than I think the average
and
80s and 90s shows.
I'm trying to remember. She did support her son-in-law's football career, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to be a football player.
Yeah.
His parents did it. Like, something happened with his parents, and she said, "You can come live with us." And that was after did she get pregnant after or
Oh man, it's been
before he moved in? I can't remember.
I think they got pregnant before he moved in.
And then he moved in, and she kind of took on the responsibility of being parents to both of them.
And was it the neighbor or like her best friend, the blonde that would always come over and like say stupid stuff?
That was the
husband's new wife.
Oh, that's right.
And he said equally stupid stuff. They belong together. Stupid, very stupid.
And I do have to
see the theme. See what are we gonna say when we have like the Father's Day show? And we have all these stupid dads on the show. Because I'm sorry, like, and I never understood that. Because like for me, is like the dads have a different relationship with their children than moms do. Like, I'm not saying that it's less important, but they definitely have a different relationship.
Yeah.
In that episode, we'll be talking about a lot of these same TV shows.
The dad is really
but that's for another day. Today is about you beautiful women.
Yeah, who take the load, work 24 hours a day
for
no pay.
Kind of keep the sanity going.
If you snuck something in the coffee, that's your own fault.
I do love that Reba sang her own theme song.
Mm-hmm.
I love country music. I grew up loving Elvis, Michael Jackson, and country music.
Yeah.
And Willow was one of my top country singers.
I like country music, but I was raised in a classic.
I will always love her in Tremors.
Tremors.
She was so good in that movie.
Yeah, had the dad from Family Ties.
Yes.
He wasn't a stupid dad, though. He wasn't a stupid dad. We could highlight him on the Father's Day show. He wasn't a stupid dad. But yeah, she was like I think we watched like mothers on TV kind of change a little bit. Like we were, they've always been the cornerstone or the rock or the foundation of the family. But I think as our TV watching experiences got a little bit more edgy, I think they got a little bit more edgy.
Yeah, and there's so many moms. Like we would be here all day to talk.
Yeah, we could talk about them forever. But then not to say because we can't be on here all day.
No.
But we could. But after a while, I get sick of us. So quickly, we have some movie moms,
or like just movies that
really were kind of about moms. In this movie, though, I think sometimes you forget that she was a mom first. Like she lost her husband and she was being a mom. And
yeah, well, what it was is they went on a talk show and her husband said that he cheated.
Oh yeah, that was right.
Yeah, and then so her daughter and her moved back to their hometown. And Henry Connick Jr. plays an old boyfriend.
I remember now. I really did love that movie, though.
And her daughter didn't like him.
Another ugly crime movie. But because that's all I do is it's either I don't cry or I do.
Seems like the theme for Sandra Bullock, though. It's like she chooses a lot of these sappy type movies.
Either they're completely hilarious movies like The Proposal and Miss Congeniality, or they're super duper sappy and you want to just cry. But that's really what the early 2000s wasn't it?
And then, more recently, she was with Melissa McCartney in The Heat.
Yes.
Again, but it's a funny movie. Like, she's incredibly hilarious. Like, she's really should have probably been a comedic actor in the first place. Down. I think
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that one last.
I hope that this is how
such a good film.
I hope this is how kids look at their step parents. I hope they don't always assume that we're evil stepmothers, and that we're trying to carve out a place where we actually want to prove that we care about them too. And a lot of time there isn't space for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think what helped with this movie, you had what I say are two of the best female actresses of all time, Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon.
And Susan Sarandon's character was diagnosed with cancer, right?
Yeah.
And she was essentially trying to come to terms and to accept the fact that the stepmother would be their mother. Like she would essentially be gone. And that's what her younger children would have as their mother. So she had to she had to deal with that in her own way, but also that everybody had to deal with the fact that she was dying too.
Yeah.
There's the half base again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then another one.
I don't remember this one as well. I remember the story, but I don't remember the mom dynamic. I don't really remember the mom dynamic.
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay, well, this is based on a book that they turned into the movie. Basically, Natalie Portman is a 17-year-old who was pretty much dumped by her boyfriend, pregnant, and she was living inside of a Walmart.
She can't go home. But...
Oh, okay. You know what? I think I did see it.
Yeah, and then her estranged mother, played by Sally Field, had saw her.
Are you serious?
Yeah, saw her on TV because they had all like the national TV was like, you know, girl living in Walmart, you know, gives birth to a baby and all that. And so like Joan Cusack's in it, and Ashley Judd, and like the town kind of like comes and takes care of this teenage girl, and she ends up getting a job. I think Joan Cusack's the manager at the Walmart. She hires her, and she ends up working at the Walmart. And so you have all these people that are like her
mom
like
type figures. I think that's the salute to people who step up to work.
The town gave this girl money, and so when Sally Field, which is her estranged mother, sees on TV, she comes and she steals all the money and disappears. And so like the town takes care of her. It's a really
okay. So now we vilified Sally Field and her mother in this mother role. Now this is probably the all-time. Is that what I do?
Yeah.
Half a face.
Half a face. That's all right. We'll fix it when you add.
I'm trying to. This one is probably the
all-time female.
Like I don't know, like everybody knows this film. And I think it's probably because everybody, it's a group of women that fill in for each other. You know, like they all have a role to play in this town, and they all have a role to play in their lives. And I think this is the family that you choose kind of movie. Like everybody fills in for something that you need, you know.
Right. And this movie was so well written, so well directed, everything from the cinematography to the actors. I think the year that this film came out, it was nominated, like multiple actors were nominated for this movie.
Multiple nominations. It's incredibly timeless still, I think, but also some of the greatest portrayals. I
mean, Dolly Parton, Julia Roberts, Sally Field, Olympus.
But Olympia Dukakis. What?
Bruce Greenwood was in this.
Yeah. No, the lady.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I can't even remember her name, and that I can see her face.
I'm sorry, I'm not helping.
The Edge. What was her name?
All the names are right there.
No, somebody pop into the comments and tell me who I'm thinking about, because I don't know.
Willow, if you could look up the cast list there.
She was in Postcards from the Edge. She's the one that wrote the book about ESP and.
All right. Dolly Parton, Shirley MacLaine, Daryl Hannah.
Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine's character, incredible role. You know, she's a grouchy old lady, but honestly, she cares about everybody more than, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. I think she is like every mom's like mom. Like we all know somebody like that. Like, so she seems so heartless or so angry, but she really just uses that as a cover for how much she loves everybody. And if she did act like she loved everybody, she'd be a pile of mush. But I think Sally Field overall, I think this was this role and her role as the mom in Forrest Gump, I think kind of solidified her as that actress. Is that, you know, at this point, she's kind of like everybody's mom. Like we've all wanted to have someone that fought for us and cared for us and loved us that much.
But I do like her odd roles though too, like the mom in Beetlejuice.
No,
she wasn't the mom in Beetlejuice.
No,
the other
Sally Field was the mom in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes, that was the one.
Sorry.
Beetlejuice was
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara. I'm so sorry. Brain fart.
I know.
So Catherine O'Hara was also she's the mother in Beetlejuice, but she was also the mother in Home Alone.
Yes.
And I said,
Wow.
how do you leave your kid twice? Especially a kid like that.
Oh.
And she was kind of aloof in Beetlejuice, but she was a stepmom in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And then,
Man, there was.
but I think Julia Roberts' role as wanting to be a mother.
Right. She was pregnant.
Like-
They were all worried because she was diabetic, right?
And because it was so difficult on her system that she just didn't make it. She got sicker after she had the baby. And I think it's just that you hold on to those people in your life, and you don't want people to leave, but living out their dreams too is important. And they all rallied around each other. I think that was.
And I like how the movie ends with all of them at the park.
I don't like the way the movie ends because she's dead.
Well, yeah, but at the end, they're all celebrating in
Sorry.
the park, having that big gathering, and they're all taking care of the baby. And
I think that was the traditionally in the South, you have people that become your family because you've known them for so long because you live in a small town. I think that that's kind of the quintessential, movie, but it was all about strong women. You very rarely saw any of the men.
Yeah.
Because Dermot Mulroney was in that movie too.
yes.
And so was the dad from Poltergeist, not Craig T. Nelson, but the other
Tom Skerritt.
Yeah. The one where they're in the
That's
high rise. And
yeah. He was also in Top Gun. But, yeah.
whatever.
But as you can see, I mean, there was so much, mom and TV and film to talk about. We couldn't talk about everyone.
But see, I think that that's kind of the theme of the day, though, is to realize that if they're the cornerstones of families on TV, then they're clearly the cornerstones of our families, whether they're dysfunctional like Peggy Bundy or over the top wonderful mothers like
or smothers like Beverly Goldberg.
Yeah. And even
or like
Raymond's mom.
Yes.
Or if you remember the National Lampoon movies, the mom she had to deal with Chevy Chase, and
again, these very sensible women marry these very stupid men.
And then you got the more serious, serious stuff like the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie.
But I think that they were all cornered, like they were the foundations of their families too. Even though the story was more dramatic, I think that it still shows that in no matter the incarnation, we rely on our mothers and those people that are like mothers to us.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or ugly. Because we all know someone that fits into either of any of those categories.
Yeah.
But I think that overall this whole day is really meant to appreciate the fact that they brought us into the world and they managed not to kill us because we didn't come with a handbook. Although I'm pretty sure that I'm truly still dealing with the whole, I brought you in this world and I can take you out kind of thing. Because I think my mom said that to me a lot. And I believe her. I still believe her. Oh,
yep.
I will tell this story because I was, my mom says that I was a snot when I was little, but I don't really think I was a snot.
I think every parent says that, though.
I think that I was very opinionated and I was very outspoken in ways, but I think I understood the line of I didn't want my mother to be disappointed in me. So there were very few times when I spoke up and contradicted my mother.
Yeah.
This story.
And I don't even know what it was about. I don't remember what we said. I don't remember what was said, but she said something and I got sharp or something on the telephone. And I'm gonna tell you something, like, because Brian was watching me talk to my mom on the phone, and I said something, and she said, "I don't know who you think you're talking to." I thought she was gonna reach through that phone and she was gonna strangle me. And real quick, I changed my tone because it was like, even at 30, 25, 28, 30, even almost now at 40, I'm not in a place where I'm going to argue with my mom, because I guess in a way I kind of do still believe that she could take me out if she really wanted to. But it's just that I kind of for a moment forgot my place in the world as her daughter and realized really quickly that she wasn't going to have that. So I think I kind of like, well, I'm really sorry. I did a lot of backpedaling after that. I'm really sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. But yeah, I thought she was coming through the phone. I was still scared of my mom 2,000 miles away.
Is there a story that you would like to share before we end the show?
No, not right now. I can't really think of anything.
All right, for all those that are listening, we would love to hear, some of your favorite mom stories that you guys have.
Or your favorite TV or movie moms that we didn't mention on the show, or share a story about your mom in general, or mom-like people who stepped up when they didn't have to. On that note, I don't remember what the movie Maverick. There is a movie called Maverick, and it's about surfers, and there's some dynamic. I don't know, something.
Oh, Chasing Maverick.
Something that freaking made me cry, because that's what movies do, and that's what TV shows do, and I'm a big crybaby. So Oliver, I think was Oliver, was it Brighton? They were like 3 or 4. They were young. And they know, like, now it's not so much a thing, because like Brighton's 9 and Oliver's 5, and they're like, "Mom, you're crying again. Like, stop it. It's not even sad." And I'm like, to me, it's sad. So he walks by me and he walks up to my face and he says, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because the movie is sad." And he says, and he took his hands, palms this way, and he wiped all the tears off my face and said, "Mommy, stop that. You're not supposed to cry." And he was like, "It'll be okay." And I'm like, woo. So I think I cried harder. But anyways, we oftentimes don't give our mom enough credit, and we don't see all their tears, and we don't know all their struggles. And, all we can do is say thank you.
Yeah.
And I know my mom's not watching, because it's way too long for her to sit and listen to me talk. But we're lucky to have parents that got us to adulthood, and hopefully are the cornerstones for the things we do for our children, or the things that we choose not to do for our children because they didn't work for us, or because they worked for us and we should have listened the first time around. But drop your little notes to us in the comments. And I think it was great to have a little downtime to appreciate those moms that mean so much to us, even throughout our years, because we do kind of adopt them as our mothers, even on TV.
Yeah.
And we welcome our new co-host.
Oh, yes.
Wrong hand. Wrong. I don't know how to have it. It's
That
sideways. I don't know. I can't.
That way.
No, because I could do this. I can't do that because nobody can see it. But there.
I just want to say thank you to all the moms, big sisters, aunts, foster moms, just anybody that is that mom figure. You don't have to be a mom per se to be a mom. You mean so much to everyone, and I don't think sometimes they get enough credit.
We don't get enough credit.
No.
We don't get any alone time in the bathroom. My children walk past their father and ask me for something. Mommy, I need a drink. Well, your dad is in front of the refrigerator right now. Mommy. So remember, not just on Mother's Day, but remember that the mother's load is still the mother load. And it's important for us to appreciate our moms, but also to, help out when we can, because we're all part of the family.
And women like you who are doing double duty, being a teacher and a mom. I'm not worthy.
I am a better mom because I go to work every day. I think I'm a better teacher for that too. Like, I have my own kids, but like I send them to school so they can be taught by somebody else. There's a reason for that. Didn't realize it until just recently.
So to all you moms out there, we love you very much and thank you for everything that you do. And until next week, take care.